the U.S. Supreme Court's potential nullification of the Voting Rights Act. A deep dive into the legal battle. The Voting Rights Act, a cornerstone of civil rights, is under threat. The Supreme Court's recent oral arguments in the Louisiana v. Callais case suggest a potential nullification of Section 2, which safeguards against racial gerrymandering that dilutes black political power. This move could have far-reaching implications for American democracy. The background. The Voting Rights Act of 1965, a landmark piece of legislation, aimed to protect voters from racial discrimination. Section 2, in particular, empowers the federal government to ensure that voting practices do not result in the dilution of minority political power. However, a recent legal challenge in Louisiana has brought this crucial provision into question. The case, Louisiana's new congressional districting maps, drawn after the 2020 census, were initially criticized for creating only one majority black district. Federal courts ordered the state to create a second majority black district to comply with the Voting Rights Act. But a group of non-African American voters has sued to challenge these maps, arguing that enforcing the Voting Rights Act violates their rights under the 14th and 15th Amendments. The Supreme Court's stance appears to favor the plaintiffs, potentially marking the end of Section 2. This shift could have significant consequences, especially given the court's previous actions. Previous setbacks. In 2013's Shelby County v. Holder, the court struck down a significant portion of Section 5, which required jurisdictions with a history of racial discrimination to obtain federal preclearance for voting law changes. This decision led to a surge in voting restrictions, widening the racial turnout gap. The court's interpretation of racial gerrymandering in this case was controversial, focusing on stated intentions rather than discriminatory impact. The Roberts Court's agenda. The current Supreme Court, led by Chief Justice John Roberts, has shown a consistent hostility to racial justice claims. It has repeatedly narrowed the scope of voting rights claims and expanded states' ability to enact potentially discriminatory voting laws. This trend is evident in the Louisiana case, where the court seems willing to prioritize partisan interests over racial equality. The impact. If the court rules in favor of the non-African American voters, it will likely dismantle the Voting Rights Act's remaining protections. This could result in a 19-seat gain for Republicans in the House, further skewing political representation. The court's decision will have a profound impact on the democratic process and the representation of minority groups. A troubling trend. The Supreme Court's actions under Roberts' leadership raise concerns about the erosion of civil rights. The court's interpretation of the Constitution and its willingness to invert civil rights law to entrench historical hierarchies are deeply troubling. The potential nullification of the Voting Rights Act is a stark reminder of the ongoing battle for equality and the need for continued advocacy. As the legal battle unfolds, the future of American democracy hangs in the balance. The Supreme Court's decision will shape the political landscape and determine the extent to which minority voices are heard and protected.